Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member. I appreciate you having this hearing. And Ambassador Kozak and Colonel Gorkowski, we appreciate you being here and answering the questions from the committee. It really helps us understand where we're at. After the fall of the Soviet Union, and I'm skipping some things that were happened back in 1915 regarding Haiti and our involvement there, but after the fall of the Soviet Union, our efforts did not cease. We continued our support for a democratic Haiti, and first in 1994 and then in 2004, the U.S. military stepped in to prevent military coup and the attempts against the democratically elected President Bertrand Aristide. So yet after all of our intervention, Haiti continues to devolve, and in 2021, the country descended into gang violence, which you've talked a great deal about, following the assassination of the President Mosey. And according to Secretary Marco Rubio, the only way to bring stability to Haiti is to first eliminate the 40,000 violent criminals. So we have our challenge, and you've expressed that already. But our goal and the goal that's in front of us, so I want to take a look at the UN and U.S. has a coordinated response. Haiti has hired a private contractor, Vectis Global, I think is the name, to help with revenue collections and border and customs enforcement. So, Colonel, how do you anticipate the information sharing and operations between the Vectis and other military forces and forces from Haiti, and how will these operations be deconflicted regarding the information that they receive?
So that's a great question, and I'd like to highlight that the Haitian task force, of which Vectis Global is a part, is a tremendous partner. And just in the next week, we will coordinate the placement of a Haitian task force member in our Joint Operations Center. So we will actually have an individual, he will be a Haitian National Police individual who is part of that task force of which Vectis Global supports, who will coordinate and deconflict both operational planning and operational execution.
And I can tell, or I think that I'm seeing that you think that coordination is working well and will continue to improve. And I think that's probably partially because the Haitians would like to have a democracy as well. And so.
Yes, sir. Yeah. It is already working well. We have coordination informally at the command level, at all levels of command with Vectis Global and the Haitian Task Force, but this will formalize that agreement and partnership.
I really appreciate hearing that, because we're talking about American tax dollar and using them wisely. But Mr. Ambassador, part of the objectives with Haiti is to hold a viable democratic election and transition of power. The first round of the elections is scheduled for what? The 30th of August, the 30th of next month. And so my question is, how likely is this to actually happen? And so what's your opinion on what can be done to establish an effective election process? Just to give us your perspective.
Yes, thanks for the question, Representative. I think over the years, the U.S. has contributed a lot to the Haiti election machinery, and Haiti has it's still called a provisional electoral council. They've never quite formalized it, but it's been provisional for 30 years. And I think you're right that is the preliminary date that they set for the first round of elections. Whether that will actually occur on that date or not, I don't know. The Prime Minister of Haiti has pointed out that he says they could have elections in 7 of their 10 departments, next week without any problem but the problem is the most populous part, Port-au-Prince, has this security situation that would make holding elections difficult there. So I think it's going to depend on how successful our colleagues in the gang suppression force are. If they're able to retake, enough territory in the capital and create enough of a security situation that life is semi-normal there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Nobody's looking for. I think one of the problems Haiti had over the years was different international groups would come in and say, oh, you have to have this, and you'd end up with 187 different requirements for an election and never having an election as a result. So I think the Prime Minister's got it about right. He wants to have I said it's not, it won't be a Cadillac election, but if it's a good, F-150 election, that's going to be solid. They need an elected government. It doesn't need to be perfect. When it will happen, I mean, we hope it happens on schedule. Their goal is even though they've lost an entire presidential term, February 7, I think, is when the turnover should have occurred 5 years ago, and that's what they're shooting for. So we'll see, but that's definitely part of the goal. The U.S. isn't especially involved in that because they have a good, capable election commission of their own. They've been working this on their own. They've got a lot of help from the UN and the OAS and so on. So we don't have to do everything, but it's an important part.
Thank you for that answer. I appreciate that. And, Colonel, I served in the Army, so I have every confidence you'll be able to take care of his concerns. And I thank you and yield back.